Welcome to Season 2 of Accountants on Purpose. It's brought to you by the University of Adelaide's Think Lab. Think you've got what it takes to be a great entrepreneur? Do you want to learn from the best and have a roadmap for success? Register now for Think Sprint, an opportunity brought to you by the University of Adelaide's startup incubator, Think Lab. Test your skills in their 90-day sprint and learn the habits of highly successful entrepreneurs with weekly coaching, workshops and day passes for Think Lab Adelaide. Move your startup forward with confidence. No interviews and no applications. Simply register and you're good to go. This is your sliding doors moment. Will you choose to sprint?
Eventually you navigate your way through it. There's no instruction book for what we do.
Joining me on the show today is Andrew Mattner, the owner of Altitude Advisory and Catapult Wealth.
Yeah, the good thing about it is it's all part of one group with, the collective vision and what effectively gets dealt with as one business.
Andrew has over 25 years experience consulting to the SME market, and he helps business owners run better businesses so that they, their family and the people they work with have every opportunity for success.
Hi, my name's Andrew Mattner. I'm from Altitude Advisory. Join us on the Accountants on Purpose podcast.
Hi, I'm Sarah Bartholomew's from YouLegal. The Accountants on Purpose podcast showcases inspiring accountants who are leaders in their field.
And then it just came to me like a bolt of blue.
What makes them tick?
Love it.
How did they get to where they are?
I want to inspire.
And what do they do now for their teams, their clients, and the world? Favourite movie of all time?
Oh, I don't really have a favourite movie. I've got probably a favourite era.
Okay.
So probably back in the the 80s, early 90s, I'm a massive fan of all things Chevy Chase. Caddyshack,
yes.
Fletch,
yes.
National Lampoons.
Yeah.
And then, if you want to get a bit more serious, you can go to Days of Thunder and Top Gun and, all that sort of era of movies.
Yes.
Anything sports-based, I love. So, movies like Blind Slide or Moneyball or anything sports-related as well. So there's no real standouts, but there is a whole raft of movies that I've watched plenty of times.
Over and over.
Over and over.
Can you name a book that, as a child or young adult, had a real effect on you and why?
Yeah, look, Sarah, I was never a reader growing up as a kid.
You're more about the numbers.
No, well, I was a country boy, so for me, it was about being outside, kicking the footy, playing cricket, doing all that sort of stuff, going down to my grandparents' place and driving tractors and riding motorbikes and all that sort of stuff. But probably the thing, not so much a book, but I can remember my grandparents had what we used to call the old room. And in that old room was a whole lot of antique clocks and antique books and a whole lot of artifacts, which collectibles and stuff like that.
It was the pool room.
Well, kind of
from the castle.
Kind of the pool room, but from like the late 1800s or early 1900s, and a lot of them were family artifacts and things like that. So it actually gave me a real, sense of culture or real connection with the past, and that's something that has always been pretty important to me to sort of have that connection where I come from and grandparents and family and all that sort of stuff. So
where did you grow up?
I was a Brossel lad. So I grew up in just out of Newry.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah, so my grandpa had 100 plus acres of vineyards.
Wow.
So we had a lot of fun as kids knocking around out there.
Yeah, definitely. What was the most transformative travel experience that you ever had, and what made it that way?
It's an interesting one. I think the biggest one for me was, it might be 8 or 10 years ago. Might even not be that long ago. We did a trip to Queenstown for a conference.
New Zealand? Not Tasmania?
No, Queenstown, New Zealand. And it was a conference that was run by my old accounting coach at the time, a fellow by the name of Rob Nixon from Brisbane.
Yes.
And Rob used to run annual conferences. And his keynote speaker that he had was a ex-monk, a fellow by the name of Dan DeParney.
Yes.
And so we spent a couple of days listening to him, and I don't know, that had a real connection with me in terms of, focus and discipline and all those things that you're not really ever taught to do. And so
especially in professional kind of university education. And
correct. You're taught how to add up or to spell or all those sort of things. And, probably the biggest thing out of that was, learn how to concentrate.
Yeah.
And we get distracted with phones and, you tell your kids, concentrate. Well, how do you concentrate? You're never really taught how to do it. So there was elements of that came out of that. And that was the first time I bungee jumped as well. So that was,
oh my goodness,
that was pretty full on. So just facing some fears. So I was thinking about that. And I think, in terms of behavioural change and impact and pushing my boundaries and stuff like that, I think that was a real key turning point for me, especially professionally.
The before and after.
Yeah.
So you own a number of businesses, including Altitude Advisory and Catapult Wealth. I think there's 6 now.
6.
How did these all come about?
6 brands, yeah. So the original foundation business is Altitude. It used to be called Hatton McCarthy. Well, you started off as Hatton Reeves back from the late 80s. It was founded by my ex-business partner, Jeff, Jim, his dad, Jim, and a fellow by the name of Ed Reeves. And I guess we went through a stage or a growth stage, and we went, okay, well, what do we do next? And a good buddy of mine, Tony Catt, was a share broker at Ord Minnett at the time. And Catty and I go way back to, footy and baseball and other things. And we had a number of new mutual clients. And I said to him, well, mate, do you want to come and have a crack at doing financial planning with us? And he said, yep. So we did that. Catapult Wealth came from that, and then we've had set up a little mum and dad tax division or smaller accounting that's not focused on advisory as such. Self-managed super fund admin business. Dalewood Business Sales is in our stable. We've got a family office. So there's 6 different brands that we run on any given day within the group.
Oh my goodness,
it can be a bit crazy.
Yeah,
drives our marketing team nuts.
I bet.
Having 6 different marketing strategies and websites and all that sort of stuff. But the good thing about it is all part of one group with, the collective vision, and effectively gets dealt with as one business and one team. But we've all got I'll call it our swim lanes.
Yeah, wear different hats.
That we stick in and do it that way.
Cool. Is it hard to keep your head above water mentally when you're running 6 different businesses to keep everything flowing? Yeah,
look, I'd say no, because we've got that overarching strategy and the board's in place that sets the
You have
vision.
An external board?
Yeah, no, so we've got the board that sits there, and so the board set the strategy for the whole business, and then basically the divisional heads are then set individual strategies in line with that overall group strategy to go and do things. And each of the businesses is at different stages, obviously, of their business life.
Yes.
So they have different needs at different times, in terms of team or marketing resources or, so we've got startup businesses right up to mature businesses that are 30 years old. So, as long as everything stays in line with that strategy, it's not that hard.
Complex,
it can get noisy. I mean, we've
As in everyone wants everything, like a schoolyard noisy?
It can do. Normally, it can be me or somebody else stamping their feet and say, I want that now. But I think the guys have really developed a discipline to stay within the priorities of what they have to do. But we're over 60 team members now in Adelaide and our team in the Philippines. So there's 60 personalities and there's noise that obviously comes with that, and it feels like there's always because we're growing, there's always new people turning up, and it's like, well, okay, who are you? Where'd you come from? So, but it's good. It's exciting.
So you mentioned your team in the Philippines.
Yep.
How did they work with the Adelaide-based team?
Yep. So they are a really important part of our structure and our strategy. They focus a lot on the compliance and the transactional aspects of what we do with our
bank
accounting,
accounts,
all that sort of stuff. The basic stuff. The reason for that is it just creates capacity for the Adelaide team to focus on looking after people. Making sure that they're looking after the clients here, making sure that they're ticking off their actions and helping the clients achieve their goals and things like that. So I really want them spending time doing that. And then they work obviously closely to make sure the other I'll call it the heavy lifting work, gets done effectively with the Philippines team. But, that team's very much part of what we do. We use Microsoft Teams. So they're on video chat 2 or 3 times a day. They run their daily huddles and stuff like that, same as what we run. They come and do a visit in Australia for a couple of weeks every year. So they're coming out again in November.
Yeah.
They come and celebrate Melbourne Cup.
That's a good thing to celebrate.
Get all dressed up and do all that sort of stuff. But they're a massive part of what we do. And we wouldn't have been able to grow without creating the capacity and leverage to do it the way we have. So
great to hear about. You wrote an article called "Why I've Had Enough of Unethical Recruiters."
Yeah.
Tell our listeners about that article. What inspired you to write it?
That article was written on a plane back from Hobart, and it was just after I had notice from one of my team members that we thought was on the right track, and that team member had been, I'll call it, levered out by the recruiter that had actually placed the person with us.
Oh no!
And I was just like, you know what, that's just not okay.
No.
And so I've fundamentally had a problem with commissions and the way that whole framework works. And I went, you know what, I've just had enough. I've had enough of all these junk resumes turning up. I've had enough of 18% on salary. I've had enough of them being here and then you're manipulating them away. And look, it's incumbent on us to make sure we look after our team.
Of course.
But just the chipping away and doing that. So I can find you 10 grand extra here or 15 grand extra there or all that sort of stuff. And I just enough of it already. Pretty
short-sighted though for people to be pulled away after being placed, I think, particularly in professions. If you then get a resume that's got somebody who's jumping around, you're
correct
likely to worry about what's going on with them.
No, you're right. But I mean, look, on the back of that, there was a lot of positive that actually came out of that.
The article?
Yeah, so we've actually developed now a couple of really good relationships with recruiters where I said, okay, well, these are the rules that we want to play by. Here's our flat fee structure. Here's what we're prepared to pay in terms of recruiting fee for you. These are the rules of the game in terms of placements or non-placements and all that sort of stuff going on. And you either play by those rules with us or we don't work with you. And there's 3 or 4 recruiting agencies that have said, yep, we're okay to play. And there's a handful that have said, we're not okay.
And that's fine. They're not a match for your values either.
No, correct. We just don't work with them.
Better to know that up front than have what happened that time happen again.
Exactly right.
So do you have any top tips for finding top talent or people who fit really well in your team other than using those people?
Look, we're always proactively recruiting. One of the things that we've done, which has worked really well, is we do a recruitment incentive for our team. And I know a lot of businesses do that, but they'll offer $500 or $1,000 or something like that if you refer somebody in. The fact that people are already in our culture and they get it and they're good performers, they actually, they'll generally hang out with people who are like them. And so getting them to refer their colleagues and stuff like that to come in, there's 10 grand as a recruitment fee for them. So it's actually worth their effort in doing it.
Do they get that after the person passes probation or?
Yep. So there's a payment after probation.
Yes.
And then there's another payment so there's $5,000 at probation. There's $2,500 on anniversary 1 and $2,500 on anniversary 2.
Oh, that's good. So it's spread out then for tax purposes for them as well. It's not just all going to go to.
Well, correct. And just make sure that everybody's in line and playing by playing the game and performing and doing all those sort of stuff.
So talking about incentives, do you also have an incentive for team members who bring work in?
Yep. So they get a kicker. They'll get 10% of the fees of what they bring in.
Yep. For the life of the client?
No, it's a first year one.
Yeah.
But for some of our senior team members that we're looking at potential future equity, we can create equity credits or something like that for future equity.
Yeah.
So that's a way we do that. Some people choose to take it. Some people choose not to take it. I'm not sure why.
Yes, people are incentivised differently in their work.
They are. Probably the biggest incentive, though, we have, Sarah, is that we say if we set our if we hit our team budgets for the whole year, our whole team get an extra week holidays, and we take them overseas for a week. So the target this year is if we hit budget, they'll have a week extra in Bali come August or July or August next year
when it's warm in Bali.
Yeah. So there's a constant focus of the team, staying on track.
Yeah,
here's our strategy.
working together.
Here's where we need to get to, and this is what we want to achieve together.
Love it.
So
love these things. What are some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome in your career, other than unethical recruiters?
Yeah. Look, there's probably been 4 major things that I can think of that have really impacted me. I ended up at a firm that had a really bad culture, and I stayed there a lot longer than I should have. And so that was a great learning experience then to get out. And when I actually left there, I didn't have another job to actually go to. And that was before I then joined with Jeff and Paul, who were my business partners at the time at Haddon McCarthy Reeves. And getting out of that environment was a real challenge, and there was a lot of learned behaviours that came from that I then had to unlearn. So that was probably the first one. The second one was probably about 6 months after I joined with Jeff and Paul. Jeff got really sick, so he had a brain tumour. He was off work for about 8 months, so that was the first real business crisis that we had,
especially in such a
short time.
And people, it's a business that relies on people and their intellectual property in their heads. So.
So him being off work for quite a while, that was sort of the first real challenge. We then had some challenges with Paul. We realised that we weren't culturally aligned and going in the same direction, so we had a major business split, major business separation. And then probably the last one was about, how long ago is it now? It was April last year. So 2018, we had a board meeting on a Tuesday morning, and Jeff again walked in, and there was Tony, Michael, who are my other 2 business partners, Jeff and myself. And Jeff walked in and he said, "Boys, I've got some news. I've got terminal lung cancer. Today's my last day at work."
Oh my God.
And so we basically spent the week doing client handovers, notifying clients.
Yeah.
He went through treatment. Yeah. And so, that was a major drama. He was seriously ill in hospital, not long after that. He then recovered. So he recovered in that his treatment and chemo and stuff like that worked. So he then ended up, living for another 12 months or so. Had a great time with his new wife and kids, and experienced a whole lot of stuff away from the business.
Yeah.
But it was a big crisis to, basically exit him out of the business. We're lucky we had a really good shareholders agreement and structure. So, we
knew
just
what
put
to
that
do.
into play.
Yeah. Get out the document that you hope you never have to look at.
Correct. So we got all that done. And so, so they were probably the 4 biggest challenges that we've gone through.
Goodness. I love how you say that you change people's lives for the better every day. It's what this podcast is all about.
Yeah.
So why do you feel that it's important to have an impact and not just run your business every day?
Yeah. And look, that focus is everywhere. That focus is not just with clients. It's with the team. It's with their families. It's with the community. We run our own foundation. So we support organisations like Variety and Operation Flinders as probably our 2 major partners that we support. And for me, it really comes back probably that connection with childhood and with family and doing all that sort of stuff, and coming out of a family business and probably seeing the inequity that happened in that, with the generational transfer of the family farm effectively. My mum was unfortunately born female. My uncle was born male. That's just how things worked in German families. And that profoundly probably affected me at the time, because I always thought I was going to be...
That's not fair.
Yeah, I was always going to be a grape grower.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't.
Yeah.
And so, reflecting on some of that stuff and saying, okay, well, there's some injustices there that I can actually do something about, helping and fixing. And, I just love I love going to work. I love seeing our team get better. I love seeing my kids get better. I love seeing my clients get results. And you know what, if I can, you know, steer them or guide them or coach them or, you know, give them a piece of valuable advice that actually helps them on that track, well, you know what, I get pretty excited about that sort of stuff.
Great. I had a lot of experience in agribusiness before I started my practice.
Yep.
And you do a fair bit of rural work as well.
Yep.
Do you think that's from your like country growing up background?
Dead set. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, we got 2 or 3 regional offices that we visit. So over at on Eyre Peninsula, we've got 2, one at Woodner and one at Tumby Bay.
Yes.
We tend to steer away from where everyone else is in Port Lincoln and Whyalla, and
busy.
We just go to the people.
Yeah.
And then we got another one at Tintinara, which, you know, people say, well, why in Murray Bridge or Keith or somewhere like that? And it's just for those reasons. And, you know, the community, you know, the community aspects that live in those country towns or those communities, you know, I love hanging out there. I love being at the local footy club or at the pub, having a drink with clients or just the locals on a Thursday night or whatever it might be. And yeah, like I said, it's just a great sense of community. They're just really, really good people. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to do.
It is easy. It just comes naturally.
Yeah.
What's your life motto?
Oh, I don't know whether it's a life motto, but like I said, you know, going back to that purpose, it's just about improving lives for me.
Mm.
Yeah, and yeah, that's one of the key focuses every day, to get up and say, okay, well, you know, how can I help somebody else today?
Mm.
How can we improve something today? And that's really what it's about. It's about, I don't know what the best means, but I think being the best is actually a myth. For me, it's just about getting out and just being better.
Mm.
You know, if I'm better today than I was yesterday, then that's okay.
And in a year, that's exponentially better.
Correct.
Because you have that 1% every day.
Yeah, little 1%ers.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you have a family meeting once a week, I'm told.
Yes, we do.
Tell me how that goes.
Family huddle.
Yes.
So this is something that I've learned off some very smart people.
Oh, really? I understand my 5-year-old taught you.
Yes, no, so that did happen. So I did have a catch up with your husband Dave and Nicola, and it was about us, I suppose, getting a better framework of communication within our family dynamic, and we've been doing it for, I don't know, 6 or 8 months now, I suppose. And so every Monday night we'll have family dinner together, and there's an agenda, and you know, we all have to share about highlights of the week, what we're grateful for, how we've helped somebody else, how somebody else has helped us, and things like that. So, and it's really good. The kids have really embraced it and
that's excellent.
Engaged with it. Ali, my wife's engaged with it as well, which is good. So that, you know, cracking that nut was a little bit harder at first.
Does someone take minutes?
Yes. Yeah, no, I've got that job every week.
Every week?
I do that every week.
And does the chair rotate then?
The chair rotates every week. And the kids are all over it. They love it.
We've recently done a brainstorm about what next term's activities are.
Yeah.
So that if they want to do different things, then that comes up.
Yeah, okay.
As an ongoing rotation on the agenda at the appropriate time, so that they can be locked in advance. And
no, that's good. And I mean, we do something similar. Like, I'm always talking to the kids about, okay, well, what are things you want to put on your bucket list?
Yeah.
So one of my buddies is Jack Daly, and he's got the greatest bucket list of all time.
He's an incredible person.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things that, and both girls have been fortunate to spend a bit of time with Jack. Yeah. And so we're constantly chipping away, well, what's going on the bucket list and all that sort of stuff. And we've got a trip to Europe planned for next year. So they're already thinking, okay, what's on the bucket list? What do we need to do? What do we need to see? So they're all over it, which is good.
Excellent. Do you have a mentor?
No, I don't. I was in EO for about 4 years, and so
it's the Entrepreneurs Organisation.
And so I had some really good forum buddies there that sort of filled that role. And I suppose the other thing that I've done is with our business, the relationship or the depth of relationship that we've been able to develop in there is that we can have a whole lot more genuine conversations.
People can challenge you and...
Correct. And so I've sort of felt I've never really felt like I've had a need for it.
You mentioned Rob Nixon before.
Yeah.
And Jack Daly, obviously.
Yeah.
People that you can turn to if you have specific questions.
Correct.
But
yeah, so there is people out there in networks that I've developed that, if I was stuck on something and I needed to give Jack a call or whatever and get some help, then
you needed a monk to talk to. Dan DeParney would
correct. He'd be all over it. He just had a new baby not that long ago, it's quite exciting for next month. It's sort of not sure how it quite goes hand in hand, but it's exciting for him and his wife.
Journey has unfurled.
He's an amazing guy.
He is indeed. What would you say to 18-year-old Andrew?
I think just keep having a go. I think that's the simple thing. Just keep having a crack. It's not always going to work out. Things are going to go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get curveballs thrown at your head. Sometimes you need to duck. Sometimes you're going to get hit. But be resilient and keep being brave. Keep having a go. Eventually, you navigate your way through it. There's no instruction book for what we do.
There isn't.
You just turn up and do your best.
Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the podcast today. If you're still listening, you can find the show notes on our website, ulegal.com.au. You're welcome to go ahead and subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with anyone that you think might benefit from it, anyone that you think is open to helping us create a world with a purpose that's higher than profit. If you're an accountant on purpose, feel free to find our Facebook page and join our community.